So 4.2, building linear models from data. So question one says, examine the scatter plot and determine whether the relation is linear or nonlinear. Remember, a relation is a set of ordered pairs. But remember, ordered pairs create points on a graph. So these points all represent ordered pairs or relations. So one of the things we'll be picking up on our calculator is the stat button. Under the stat button is where we actually would enter data. So this button here becomes rather important. Under stat, notice that number one is edit. So if we use that edit button, choose number one there, notice that's where we're going to be inputting data, L1 and L2. So L1 kind of stands for list one. L2 a lot of times stands for list two. A lot of times L1 is going to be our X values, and L2 will be our Y values. Nothing to pick up on is, besides the stat button, notice how there's a stat plot up here in blue. So we hit the second button, hit stat plot. That's something else we need to pick up on is that. So there's a stat plot up there as well to pay attention to. So we have to actually hit the second button to locate the stat plot. So for us to make stat plots, we have to turn these plots on. So notice how number one is turned off right now. If I hit enter, what I can do is turn it on by hitting enter. And then the type of thing is we would want one of these types here. Right now, the one we're looking at is the first one. That's what's going to be a scatter plot, is this first one. Notice how the X list is L1, the Y list is L2, so that all wants to stay the same. So once this is all done, you can kind of quit that, and you're kind of good to go. So as we move into question one, notice how they've already made a scat plot for us. Now, to be linear, what has to happen is the math has to move in the same direction. So notice how the graph does kind of move in a upward direction. So a line could be used as a linear relation here. So this data would be considered linear. So a line could be used, or a linear function could be used to predict outcomes based on the data. And that's what happens with scatter plots is what you're trying to do is if you try to see a pattern, if that pattern is linear, then you can use a linear model to make predictions about the data. So this would be considered an example of a linear relation.